But tomorrow is the retake planned in class, so that way you can just get it done and move on with your life afterwards. I truly believe that the longer you take to retake something, the worse you end up doing. So that's why I plan it for in class. So make sure that you are ready, because again, I truly feel like if you come crying to me at the end of the semester trying to retake this, you will not do better. Like too much time will have gone by, you'll forget things. Make this like your best retake when we plan them in class. You're allowed to use that green paper from Friday on your retake tomorrow. You can still continue to like go home, make more notes on it. That's totally fine. You could take notes from today's Kahoot on it because this is specifically designed to match your constructed response. I mean, different numbers, but same situation. So your points today are you taking notes on the Kahoot as we go. It could be on the paper that you should have picked up on your way in, or it could be on the green paper that I told you to use as a cheat sheet. So I'll be like walking around, checking as we go that we're taking notes. You hear that? You gotta take notes for your points today on either the green or this white paper that you should have picked up. So there's that. I'm gonna press start. The top three will get a prize. Of course, first place will get first dibs, second place, second dibs, third whatever's left. So, getting started. Make sure you don't lose your green paper like tomorrow, because then you can't use it. Anytime. So, Unit 5, constructed response review. First question is, when you have this function, does the cost increase or decrease over time? Look to know that it's increasing or decreasing. What were you saying? Okay, the parentheses, or otherwise, because I could always write it without parentheses too. It's the number that's attached to the exponent. All right, we usually call that the b value, our common factor. If the number that's attached to the exponent is greater than 1, then what you're multiplying to get is a bigger number. If you multiply by a number smaller than 1, then it will be a number smaller than your original number. So when b is greater than 1, that's growth. When b is less than 1, that's decay. Of course, there's some exceptions, like when a is negative to that rule, but in our real world situations, your a is not going to be negative. So it's going to increase for this reason, not because 80 is bigger than 1, the initial amount doesn't matter. But you do need to justify, so don't forget that part tomorrow, the justification. If tomorrow all you told me was that it's increasing, even though you're right, you would get a 2 out of 5. So you need to justify it in some way. Some of you said that you graphed it and it increased from left to right. Some of you made a table and showed me that the y's get bigger as time goes on. Totally fine, but you have to justify it some way. Questions on that? Okay, so then on to the next one. So same function, by what percentage per year does it increase? For the percentage, so you would look where the b was, right? That's how we determine if it was increasing or decreasing. You can also tell by how much based on what the value of b is. And since our answers are in percentages, maybe refer back to that one equation that allowed you to plug in a percentage. This one. So the only difference from this to like our normal one is that b is replaced with the 1 plus or minus r. So if B became 1.09, that had to have been 1 plus something. What plus 1 gives me 1.09? 0.09. And remember, like most of the time we had to make the equation. Well, when we're given it, if we have to go back now to the percentage, you have to convert that decimal back to a percent. So green was a common mistake. I also saw that people told me like 1.09% and things like that. You know, you would have to do 0.09. How do you convert it back to a percentage? Not divide by 100. Multiply by 100%. That will then give you the percent sign and it'll give you the accurate answer. So questions on that? So if it said in my parentheses 1.29, by what percent did it grow? 29%. I figure more of you. If it was 1.035 in the parentheses, by what percent did it grow? Good. If it was 0.95, so a decay example, by what percent did it decay? Not 95%. 5%. This one would be a decay example. So whatever is in the parentheses, know that it was 1 plus or minus r. If it's bigger than 1, it must have been growth. Smaller than 1, it must have been decay. You gotta tell me by how much. So questions on that? And your reasoning could be work equivalent to this. But if you don't have reasoning, that's like minus 3. Oh, and I need to read that list of who's exempted from what. Ounce of the metal cost in 2015. How much does an ounce of the metal cost in 2015? Didn't notice by everyone needing to take out their calculator super fast. You need a calculator to solve problems like this. You just need one. I think I saw maybe 1 or 2 people still multiplying by hand on the test. Please use a calculator, please. But the other trick about this is that you need to know what to plug in. So table 6, can you tell me what I would need to plug into this to solve? 4. And why 4? So in the problem, it always defines your time, which is your X. In this one, it's X years since 2011. And we want to know for the year 2015. How many years from 2015 is 2011? I said that backwards, but how many years from 2011 is 2015? 4. So that's how we knew to plug in the 4. This alone could be your reasoning, you plugging in the right number. But if you just give me the right answer, that would be a 5 out of 10 for this one. You need to show that you plugged in the right number. The calculator can do the rest. So I'm going to go to the calculator now. So 80 times 1.09. To the 4th power. And here's where some of you might have lost a point. If you gave me this long decimal, I took off a point because we're talking about money. How much did it cost? So how many decimal spots should I have? And you also need it to round, right? So if this is where I need to round to, you look to the right. Since that number is a 6, should it be 0.92 or 0.93? 0.93. $112.93 would have gotten you the full points as long as you also have the reasoning, which really could just be this. What did you plug in your calculator? Okay, I can go now. So easy 10 points. Make sure you include the reasoning for that. All right, next one. So given this function, a new function this time, and the coordinates 3c and 4d, what's the value of d over c? Might have just ran out of time. That's what I'm gonna go with since I had so few answers. Of course, you'll have more time tomorrow. We just have to fit this in our short Monday. So we have an equation, we have some coordinates, and we're being asked what the value of d over c is. Table 1, what do we know about coordinates that can help me solve this? So they go in the order x and then y. So they're basically telling us some x values. They're giving us an equation. We just need to plug in our given x values, so like 3, into the given equation, and then we can use our calculator from there. So I'm going to plug in 3. What's the other number I need to plug in, class? 4. That was the other x they gave me, right? Everyone with me? So then when I plug it in, I'm plugging it in for x, and that happens to be the exponent. Whenever I get my output for when the input's 3, that's going to be the c value. Whenever I plug in 4, the value I get will be the d. I'm gonna go back to the calculator now. So 7.89 times 4 to the third. Now remind me, when I plug in 3, did I get C or D? C. That comes from rereading the problem. Some of you just put it the wrong way. You did C over D. So make sure you don't do that tomorrow. Or you just didn't divide them. That was the other thing you saw. So we also have to plug in a 4 for the exponent, and that gave us what D was. And it wanted B over C. You know. So 2019.84 over 504.96 will give me my final answer. Highly recommend do not round early. Although I didn't necessarily take off points this time. It didn't say what to do. So just don't round early. Wait till the end to round anything if needed. I get a nice even 4 for when you oversee it. You good about this? Okay. Questions about this? So the final answer should have been 4. Okay, Tatum May. Wait, go ahead. All right, any other questions? All right, on to the next one. I think this one's our last one. So we have, you have $50. Would you rather have a bank account that grows by $200 a year or an account that grows by 11.5% a year? It didn't specify for how long. If I did, then yeah, you have to plug in the time frame and then compare them. But truly, it just depends how much time passes. So sometimes the linear is worth higher than the exponential. We know that the exponential function will eventually surpass the linear one at some point. So those of you that chose blue aren't necessarily wrong, but it really just depends how much time. And that's what you needed to do on your test. So for the test, you do need to make the equations at some of the points. So let's practice making the equations right now. If we have an account that grows by 200 a year, does that follow more of a linear pattern or an exponential pattern? linear. And our linear functions are in what format? The equations for linear functions. Y equals mx plus b. So if I'm adding the same amount each time, like 200 per year, and like I started at 50, then that would match a linear pattern, not an exponential pattern. So many of you tried to give me an exponential equation for this. But it's linear, so Y would be your output, how much money is in the account. M would be your slope / rate of change. So table 2, what would be my slope in this situation? What is it changing by? 200 times however many years. We don't have a time frame this time, but if we did, it'd be x. And plus b, b would be my y-intercept. In our real world situations, it's always your table 3, can you tell me? B and y equals mx plus b is always my, or what would it be in this one? Well, 200 is my rate of change. So what other number needs to be involved in this to tell me how much I have? The original value. So your y-intercept for your linear function is also your starting value. Make sense? So that's how you make the equation. That would be 5 points out of 20 right there. The other equation is the 11.5% each year. The percent change should notify you that it's an exponential function. So maybe use the one that has the percent change in it. Table 4, what should my A be in this situation? And in this situation, my initial value is 50. Good. It's growing, so I'm going to do the 1 plus my rate as a decimal. So many of you put in the parentheses 11.5, and it shouldn't have been. What should it be as the equivalent decimal? 0.115. You should have divided it by 100%. That way the percent signs cancel, and then you get the equivalent decimal, which is 0.115. All right, and then to the x power, this one didn't specify a time frame. If it was like our test that we took, where it was like an 18th birthday gift, then we would be plugging in the 18. And since we have time, let's actually compare it. But making the equations, understanding that one's linear, understanding that one's exponential, and making it look that way is half of the point itself. So then so if we are plugging in 18, it would look something like this for the linear function. And like this for the exponential function. Which one would make the better fit? Table 5, can you tell me? So then on your test, you would say option 1 is the better gift because it has more money after 18 years. Or something to that effect. But if you don't have the equation, you don't get the full points. This would get you 10 points. So I mean, it's a 50-50 shot either way. But you need to have the equations too. So I know that you actually calculated and compared. Yes? You could, like you could say this is 1,700 more than the other option, or whatever it actually is, that could be your justification, or if you include your work shown, that could be your justification too. But I need to know that you made the equations and actually calculated it. So good on that? Okay, so let's see who's on the podium and we'll take a prize. But consider maybe transferring this to your green paper that I'm letting you use tomorrow. I've been eyeballing who's been taking notes, so I don't think anyone lost notes or not lost. Lost like all right, so Ava, you get your choice of either 5 assessment points, a homework task, or candy/snack. Which would you prefer? And then Kaylin, you'll get the next choice. Do you want a homework task or a candy/snack? So then, Mustafa, that means you get the snack or candy. You can pick from that bag or that bin. All right, but maybe